John Hoper. Johan Hoper was an English churchman, Anglican bishop of Gloucester and Worcester, a proponent of the English Reformation. He was executed for heresy by burning during the reign of Queen Mary I. Early life. In 1538, a John Hoper appears among the names of the Black Friars at Gloucester, and also among the White Friars at Bristol, who surrendered the houses to the king. A John Hoper was likewise canon of Wormsley Priory in Herefordshire, but identification of any of these with the future bishop is doubtful. Rather, he appears to have been in 1538 rector of Liddington, Wiltshire, a benefice in Sir Thomas Arundel's gift, though he must have been a non-resident incumbent. The Greyfriars Chronicle says that Hoper was sometime a white monk, and in the sentence pronounced against him by Stephen Gardiner he is described as the Lim Monachus Decliva Ordinus Cisterciensis, i.e., of the Cistercian house of Cleve Abbey in Somerset. On the other hand, he was not accused, like other married bishops who had been monks afresh, of infidelity to the vow of chastity, and his own letters to Heinrich Bullinger are curiously reticent on this part of his history. He speaks of himself as being the only son and heir of his father, and fearing to be deprived of his inheritance if he adopted the Reformed religion. Prior to 1546, Hoper had secured employment as steward in Arundel's household. Hoper speaks of himself during this period as being a courtier and living too much of a court life in the palace of our king, but he chanced upon some of Zwingli's works and Bullinger's commentaries on St. Paul's epistles, which elicited an evangelical conversion. After some correspondence with Bullinger on the lawfulness of complying against his conscience with the established religion, and following some trouble in England, California, 1539–40, with Stephen Gardiner, Bishop of Winchester, to whom Arundel had referred him out of concern for his new views, Hoper determined to secure what property he could and take refuge on the continent. In Paris for an unknown period of time, Hoper returned to England to serve Sir John St. Low, Constable of Thornbury Castle, Gloucestershire, Arundel's nephew. Life on the continent. Hoper found it necessary to leave for the continent again, probably in 1544, and he reached Strasbourg by 1546. He decided to permanently move to Zurich, but first, he returned to England to receive his inheritance, and he claims to have been twice imprisoned. In Strasbourg again, in early 1547, he married Anne de Seclaus, a Belgian in the household of Jacques de Bourgogne, Seigneur de Falais. He proceeded by way of Basel to Zurich, where his Zwinglian convictions were confirmed by constant intercourse with Zwingli's successor, Heinrich Bullinger. He also made connections with Martin Bucer, Theodore Bibliander, Simon Grenius, and Conrad Pelican. During this time Hoper published an answer to my Lord of Winchester's book entitled A Detection of the Devil's Sophistry, a declaration of Christ and his office, and a declaration of the 10 Holy Commandments. Chaplain at the centre of power. It was not until May 1549 that Hoper returned to England. There, he became the principal champion of Swiss Calvinism against the Lutherans as well as the Catholics, and was appointed chaplain to Edward Seymour, 1st Duke of Somerset, the Lord Protector. Hoper had a hand in the formation of the Zwinglian-inspired Dutch and French stranger churches in Glastonbury and London. Hoper enjoyed at this time a friendship with Jan Lasky, and served as a witness for the prosecution in Bishop Bonner's trial in 1549. Somerset's fall from power endangered Hoper's position, especially as he had taken a prominent part against Gardiner and Bonner, whose restoration to the sees was now anticipated. However, John Dudley, Earl of Warwick, who now dominated the council, continued Somerset's Protestant religious policies. Hoper now became Dudley's chaplain. Vestments controversy. After a course of Lenten sermons before the king, he was offered the bishopric of Gloucester. This led to the prolonged vestments controversy. In his sermons before the king and elsewhere, Hoper had denounced the Aaronic vestments and the oath by the saints prescribed in the new ordinal, and he refused to be consecrated according to its rites. Thomas Cranmer, Nicholas Ridley, Martin Bucer and others urged him to submit. Confinement to his house by order of the council proved equally ineffectual, and it was not until he had spent some weeks in the Fleet prison that the father of nonconformity consented to conform, and Hoper submitted to consecration with the legal ceremonies. Bishop. Though Hoper had a low view of the role of bishops in the church, he soon set about a visitation of his diocese, which revealed a condition of almost incredible ignorance among his clergy. According to reports, out of a total of 311 clerics, 186 could not repeat the 10 Commandments, 31 could not locate them in the Bible, while 40 and 31, respectively, could not locate the commandments of the Lord's Prayer in the Bible. Hoper issued an injunction to his clergy, stressing in Article 9 that they were to teach the parishioners the 10 Commandments, the Creed, and the Lord's Prayer, word for word as they be written there. And in Article 10, that every parson teach the 10 Commandments out of the 20th chapter of Exodus, as they stand there, and no otherwise, not taking one word, letter or syllable from them. Apparently this standard was enforced through much of the visitation. Less than a year after Hoper had been installed in Gloucester, his bishopric was reduced to an archdeaconry and added to Worcester, of which Hoper was made bishop in succession to Nicholas Heath. Hoper believed a bishop should observe a vow of poverty but resigned the profits of the See of Gloucester to the Crown. As bishop, Hoper was also notable for his sense of social justice, and spoke eloquently of the distress caused by the economic crisis of the early 1550s. He wrote to William Cecil pleading for the council to take action on the price of essential goods, for all things here be so dear that the most part of the people lack, their little livings and poor cottages decay daily. Downfall and death. Upon Edward VI's death, Northumberland tried to supplant the legitimate heiress, Mary Tudor, with his own daughter-in-law, Jane Grey. Hoper opposed this plot, but this did not improve his situation once Mary had become queen. As a representative of the extreme wing of Protestantism, Hoper was the first bishop to be attacked. He was given sanctuary at Sutton Court, before being sent to the Fleet prison on the 1st of September, first on a charge of debt. After Edward VI's legislation on the church was repealed, and Hoper was deprived of his bishopric as a married man in March 1554. He was kept in prison and, after the revival of the Heresy Acts in December 1554, he was condemned for heresy by Bishop Gardiner and degraded by Bishop Bonner on the 29th of January 1555. Hoper was sent to Gloucester, where he was burnt on the 9th of February. Legacy. Hoper represented the extreme wing of English Protestantism. While he expressed dissatisfaction with some of Calvin's earlier writings, he approved of the Consensus Tigurinus negotiated in 1549 between the Zwinglians and Calvinists of Switzerland. It was this form of religion that he labored to spread in England, against the wishes of Cranmer, Ridley, Bucer, Pietro Martire Vermigli and other more conservative theologians. His views had considerable influence on the Puritans of Elizabeth's reign. When many editions of Hoper's works were published, 2 volumes of Hoper's writings are included in the Parker Society's publications, and another edition appeared at Oxford in 1855. In 1550 he translated Book 2 of Tertullian's Ad Uxorem, which is the first English translation of any of Tertullian's works.